sadly, a lot of my sketchbooks go either unfinished or sit around empty, and then I kind of forget that I have empty sketchbooks and I buy a new one, etc., 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 etc. But I've got this lovely leather sketchbook, and the only two drawings that are in this book are actually from failed attempts at filming this video in particular. From a few days ago, it just wasn't working out. I ended up filming the whole video and I scrapped it because I realized that I was just talking normally, and I feel like to an extent that can work out for certain videos, but just for this one in particular, I really wanted it to be more chill, more quiet, and more low-key, in comparison to just kind of, talking normally, when, it's like a ramble lo-fi in the car. It can be kind of loud when it's directly into the Blue Yeti mic, and often it will peak, and so I'm really trying to be aware of how loud I am in this video and kind of go for a more chill vibe anyways. So I hope you enjoy. We're just going to be doing some light doodling and sketching, kind of see where the canvas takes us, where the canvas takes us, the canvas takes us. I know it's cheesy and a lot of people say it, but it is true when it comes to Bob Ross's advice that there are no mistakes, there's just happy accidents, and I really do try and believe in that sentiment as an artist, because I really don't want to stop myself from creating just because I'm afraid I might fail. I don't think that anybody should really stop themselves from creating something because they're worried about it not turning out perfect, because frankly the best way for you to gain experience is through there we go, through trial and error, right? Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. I do want to mention real quick, I really, really, really love these pens. These are the Pilot G2 pens, and they're absolutely amazing. They're gel pens. They're a little more on the expensive side in my book, just when it comes to pens. I mean, I'm no expert when it comes to pen prices, but for me they are a little bit pricey. But I love them because they're not only perfect for writing, because they glide very smoothly, but I really enjoy how they look for sketching as well. I've always been one to lean more towards pen over pencil. I've done like pencil work in the past, and I haven't enjoyed it, So it was really interesting to have that experience and have someone appreciate something that I enjoyed doing and enjoyed sharing, and in a way that's kind of how I feel here, where I feel like, obviously I've put myself on display in this environment where I've, said, hey, here I am. If you guys enjoy, stick around. If you don't, pass me by. But I think what's interesting though is receiving that feedback of people having such a positive perspective on something that I enjoy, and just being so supportive and caring. That seriously means so much, to be able to do something that I enjoy and feel like I can be myself and feel like I can just be authentically me. And it's hard to put yourself out there. Like, you could say the same thing about just being an artist in general, where you could create something and obviously you're going to face criticism, and you are going to have people that don't agree with you, or are just not interested in you, and you could go under. Like, it's how it goes. Sometimes you're going to be well received, sometimes you're not, but there's always going to be someone out there that's supporting you, and you really have to add yourself to that list, because frankly, again, you are your worst critic. Most likely person to hold you back from doing anything is yourself. And it's really hard to admit that sometimes, because we have so many goals and aspirations as people, where often there are things that we really want to accomplish that we, technically hold ourselves back from, because we are afraid. We are afraid of not being accepted. We are afraid of failing. We are afraid of trying. And it's something that has really been cultivated in humans, and truly I feel that the internet has made it such a tough world out there to be well received, and feel confident that you will be well received, because when it comes to the internet, you can put anything you want out there. Anybody can, and in a way that's good, and in a way that's bad, because like, I think it's important for everyone to put their opinions out there, but sometimes opinions can be strong, harsh, and hurtful. And it's sad, because we have this mask of the internet that has kind of dehumanized the other people on the other end of the screen, where you can write something and send it away without seeing the other person's reaction, without seeing that other person's emotion. And I feel that that's really desensitized us to how we interact with other people out there. When we send a message on the internet, we don't really see that as going to another person. We just see it as, lighting up another box. We see it as another checklist, whatever. And I think that's sad. We get that satisfaction of saying exactly what we want without any of the real repercussions, the real consequences. I mean, half the things that the people say on the internet, if not most, they would likely not say to someone's face in real life, especially if it's something extremely negative. I mean, obviously negativity is subjective, as is positivity, but there are people out there that can be very harsh and very cruel, especially to those who are, just trying to be authentically themselves, where that's already a very difficult challenge to endure. And so, I really do applaud and praise those who are growing the confidence to put themselves out there, regardless of what feedback they may receive, because something we all struggle to remember, I believe, is that we are all human. We are all sharing the same shared collective experience of living on planet Earth, and I feel like a lot of people tend to forget that, and we kind of demonize others in our minds. We assume intentions. We, kind of box ourselves off, and it's sad to see that in, a world that thrives so profusely within a community. I mean, the only way that humans would have been able to get to the point that we are at now is because we work together, and it's sad seeing so much divide among such a community-oriented species. But it's not all doom and gloom, honestly. I mean, I think there are a lot of people out there that are very supportive of others, and it's hard to see a lot of divide in in our country and in our world, and just all over right now. And it's us versus them nonsense, because personally I don't believe in that. I believe in equality. I believe in the equality of each individual. I don't believe in people being separated by race, by gender, by sexual orientation, by anything like that, really. I don't think there should be any division, honestly. I think people should be treated as people, and that's what really matters. But, that's a perfect world in my opinion, and it may not be for others, and, frankly, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Again, that's kind of the fun, interesting thing about the internet is you can put your opinion out there, and everybody in the world can see it, really, and everyone in the world can reply and give their opinion back. And I think what's so cool about the internet is that you can do that, and it makes it a very thought-provoking place, at least for myself. I feel like for some, it's a place to spew, it's a place to regurgitate knowledge. Others, it's a place to learn, to retain knowledge. I mean, I don't think either is necessarily correct. I mean, it's really up to the individual and how they want to use this amazing platform that we've invented, an amazing source of technology and communication and knowledge. It's just truly amazing what we've achieved as a species, especially when you look back on the last, 100 years even, and how much has changed, and just the incredibly vast advancements that we've made as a species, as a society as a whole. It's truly incredible what we've accomplished. Obviously, there have been bumps in the road, and that's kind of how it goes, but we live and we learn, we live and we learn, we live and we learn, we live and we learn. And I feel like, this pathway that we are currently walking down with artificial intelligence, with the internet, with these drastic changes in our world, I'd like to hope that we're headed in a good direction, and that things are only going to get better from here on out. Medical technology will advance, people will grow closer together, division will decrease. I really hope that's the case in the future. I hope there won't be as much conflict and turmoil among the world. It's sad to see. I'm hoping this will bring us some togetherness, and we can start thriving, start really, truly thriving. I feel like, obviously as a species, we've truly thrived. I mean, we've lasted how many years? We've been on this planet for a very long time, and we've made a lot of really incredible things happen. It's pretty cool. Things always end up getting deep to an extent on these videos, but it's fun to be able to have these types of conversations, because it's these types of conversations, the thought-provoking, that tends to get the gears rolling for change. And not only that, but it's frankly just interesting to converse with other people, exchange ideas, see where everyone's opinions lie, because it's scary putting yourself out there again, that fear mentioned in another video that I've been gaining quite an interest in philosophy and how it just intrigues me to see the inner workings of our mind. Really, I understand that's psychology. I know there's a difference there, but just how everyone's opinions vary. Because I mean, no person on earth is going to have the exact same opinions in total as any other person. I mean, we're all going to have our own individual experience, even though we're sharing the collective human experience. We're all individual, subjective. There is really no such thing as objectivity, at least when it comes to experience. And so I find that very fascinating to exchange ideas with people who are not necessarily like-minded. I feel like a lot of people are scared to have conversations with those who may or may not agree with them. I feel like, there are people out there that are afraid of touchy topics or, rocking the boat, whatever that might be. Just because sometimes you can struggle with discourse among people who do not agree. And I can definitely understand the fear in that, but as I've gotten older, I've really tried to adopt the mentality of I'm gonna die one day, and so I would like to converse with people who have differing opinions so that I can learn, so that I can grow, so that, my interest is piqued and I want to understand the people around me. I feel like it's when we really start to understand and recognize the differences in those around us that we truly start to thrive, because we're kind of also conditioned for tribalism, where we kind of expect those around us to agree, and when they don't, there's, chance for conflict. And I really try to be open-minded and accept that not everyone is going to share the same mindset, mentality, or opinion as me. And honestly, that's what makes me so unique, is that no one out there is going to be exactly like me. There may be someone who shares many similarities, but no one is going to be exactly like me. And I think people are afraid of that in a way. They're afraid of that rejection. They're afraid of someone being upset with their opinion not aligning with theirs. And I certainly can understand that. I can understand how that can be scary. Again, like with the internet, it's so easy to be shut down easily and ignored or insulted. I've dealt with that myself many times, where I've felt, vulnerable enough to express my opinion and, comfortably tell people how I feel. And of course I was met with people being frustrated or cruel or insulting, and that's hard, because you really do have to put yourself in a vulnerable place to be honest. And not a lot of people feel comfortable with that, just because of the stigma surrounding society and that tribalism and that's fitting in. And I was lucky enough to, and I say this, like, I'm not dissing on those who had the average school experience, but I was homeschooled my entire life, and so I am glad that I missed out on some of those social stigmas surrounding high school, things like that. I feel like it really did help with my personal confidence in myself to not be subjected to a place where, people can be very cruel, people can be very opinionated, and, they're adolescent, they're very young, they don't really think before they, I don't know, interact with others, I guess. I don't know. And I'm not trying to say that, like, us versus them sort of thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with people who have gone to high school, but I just feel like because I didn't, in a way, it kind of spared me from having some of that social anxiety, whereas I felt very confident and comfortable in my own skin growing up, and I interacted with more adults than I did kids my own age. I spent a lot of time around adults, and I really enjoyed that because I was able to have a lot of deep conversation. And I remember being younger was really able to have that same level of connection, because most kids that are, say 10, 11 years old are not going to be comfortable having adult conversations about just serious topics, or, being vulnerable and real. I mean, even some kids I knew that were that same age as me, they couldn't even order their food at the restaurant. Their parents would have to order for them. And again, not dissing on that at all, but I think it's just funny to me, because I never really experienced that. I was a very outspoken child, and I appreciate that I grew up in such a, I don't know, I was so fortunate to grow up in a space where I could feel comfortable expressing myself. And I'm really happy to have experienced that, because that has truly brought me to where I am now in life, feeling more comfortable being vulnerable, and being more comfortable with that risk of being hurt, because it is a big risk. It can be a very big risk when you feel that you want to express yourself, but you might be met with cruelty. You might be met with someone shooting you down, giving you a hard time, what have you. But at the same time, you may have the reward of someone being very kind, someone being very understanding, and someone agreeing with you, having good conversation. Or if someone doesn't even agree with you, you may still enjoy very good, deep conversation. You may receive support for whatever you're trying to express yourself with. I mean, I say it like I'm posing this hypothetical if you want to tell someone your opinion in a conversation, but there's my throat, sorry. This applies to anything, expressing yourself through art, expressing yourself through conversation, anything really, anything. Those are the two examples I can think of at the moment, but it is so important to express yourself and not conform. Really appreciate that you are an individual, and you are the only person out there that is you. No one else will ever be you, and I think that's something to be proud of and take advantage of, because you only live once. You're only going to be on this planet once, so you might as well take advantage of that time that you get, and not feel bound by social stigmas or expectations. You should just allow yourself to be, because it's so important to just be sometimes, and not be so afraid of the world around you. And that's obviously a lot easier said than done. So, I totally understand people who struggle with anxiety, people who struggle with, fear of rejection, struggling to, feel that they may be accepted. It's hard. It's really hard. And, I have those same struggles myself. It's not something that I'm impervious to. Is that a word? Is that a word for this? Impervious, I guess. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I'm not invincible to these issues, these concerns. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, it's not something that I'm. What am I struggling? Why am I struggling with this so much? used to draw with like a reference a lot more, and I do enjoy doing that still, but it's just been a really long time and I've been out of practice. I used to draw a bunch of artwork from like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. Way back in the day, not as big a fan of that stuff anymore. That's around the time I was still into like The Walking Dead and all that. I was a very fandom based kid, and nowadays not so much. Not so much. But I do still appreciate a lot of different types of arts, a lot of cinema, a lot of TV shows, all that stuff. I just don't get as invested in a fandom to the same extent that I did when I was younger, where it was like I would get so invested in a TV show or a movie, and I would be like, this is my life now. This is all I want to focus on. This is all I want to spend money on, spend time on. This is it. Nowadays, it's like I have a bunch of varying interests, and I'm gonna hop between all of them constantly. So, you know, it tends to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close this sketchbook